Hi, good afternoon. My name is Deb Cyrier. I am the principal at Marquette Montessori Academy, and we are so happy to be here as part of the South Bend Community Schools Showcase of Schools to tell you a little bit about our program. Today I have with me our magnet facilitator, Carrie Meeks, and she will be joining us a little bit later. But I wanted to start by talking about some of the uniqueness of our Montessori magnet program. First of all, we are the only public Montessori option in St. Joseph County. Across the country, there's about 500 school districts that have public Montessori, so we are happy to be a part of that national movement of Montessori into the public sector. We serve children age 3 to grade 6, so that also makes us unique in the South Bend schools. We have a preschool program serving the 3 and 4-year-olds. They attend school half day in our building. And then we are an elementary school that goes through 6th grade, and that is to help accomplish our Montessori multi-age classrooms. The Montessori method started in 1907 back in Italy from a woman named Dr. Maria Montessori, who created it out of watching children and how they learn. And that tradition has remained in place for more than 100 years. It did survive the very first pandemic, and we are going to survive this one as well. So it is an education method that is used all over the world. It is time-tested, founded in the developmental nature of children and how they learn. Our teachers serve as facilitators of student learning. They guide them through experiences that lead them to discover the meaning behind academic content and explore subject matters, and just to come to their own discovery of why things are and how they work and how they happen. In our classrooms, one of the best things is to see those what we call light bulb moments happen. As a teacher multiple years ago, I specifically remember working with a child on a material that we call the bead frame, and she was learning how to do addition. And by sitting with that hands-on material, she stopped in the middle of her work and she goes, "Oh, this is how it's getting into my head." And those kinds of moments happen in our classrooms all the time. They are what bring joy to our teachers. They are what bring joy to our whole building, is when we see those light bulb moments go off in the faces of children, and they have finally made that connection in their brain to the work that they're doing with their hand to make their learning come alive. Our classrooms are Montessori classrooms that are multi-age. So we have 3 what we call program levels. The first is our early childhood program, and that is encompassing our 3-year-olds, our 4-year-olds, and kindergartners. The 3 and 4-year-olds stay half day, and then the kindergartners are there full day. And what that provides for our kindergartners is a reduced class size. There's usually about 10 to 12 kindergarten students present in the afternoon in a non-COVID kind of year. And so they get much more individualized instruction in that afternoon time, higher focus on reading and writing and the kindergarten specific readiness skills to be able to move into our elementary program. The elementary program is divided into 2 parts. One is the what we call lower elementary. It's grades 1, 2, and 3 combined in a class. Generally, there's about 30 students in a class, and we try to keep that about 10 students of each grade level in a classroom. The beauty of having those multi-age classrooms is that we if your child starts with us in the very first year of that program level, they loop with the same teacher for 3 years. And so by looping with that teacher, students don't have to start off at the beginning of a school year trying to always show a teacher what they know, because they've come back at, say they're a 2nd grader in a class for the 2nd year in a row with the same teacher. That teacher knows where they left off. They can start right away with where they need to continue their learning. But it also allows that teacher not only to build relationship with the child, but with the family as well. And I think if you were to ask current Marquette families, that is one of the things that they talk about the most, is that they are able to make strong bonds with classroom teachers over that 3-year period. The final program level that we have is called upper elementary, so that is grades 4, 5, and 6 combined. And it works the same way. You loop with the same teacher for 3 years once you enter into that program. Our teachers are also unique in the district. They are dual certified. And so first and foremost, they hold their Indiana licensure for the grade level, program level of which they teach. But they also are required to hold Montessori teaching credentials. And so if a teacher comes to South Bend schools without those, the district funds their Montessori training, which is a 2-year process to get them fully Montessori certified. And a number of our teachers are currently already existing in that dual certification. And we have a handful right now that are finishing up or just getting ready to start their cohort of Montessori training. So I'm going to turn it over to Carrie Meeks for her to talk a little bit about the specific curriculum areas and how we address those in our classroom. And then I'll be back in a little bit.
Hi, my name is Carrie Meeks, and I am the Montessori Facilitator at Marquette. I've been at Marquette for about 11 years. I actually started at Marquette as just a parent. I had a 3-year-old who I knew she needed something, and Marquette was just starting, and so I enrolled her 12 years ago now at Marquette as a 3-year-old. And after about 3 or 4 weeks of her being at school, we were on a trip down a road in South Bend, and we were noticing signs, and she told me, "Mom, that's not a stop sign, that's an octagon, and it has 8 vertices." And she was 3. And all of a sudden I realized something is special at Marquette. And I was currently a teacher at a different school, and so I finished off that school year and applied for a position at Marquette, and have been there for 11 years. What's special about Marquette is that you loop with those teachers for 3 years. And so as a family, you really get to know your teacher, and your teacher really gets to know you. My daughter is a freshman now, and we still talk about her early childhood or her lower elementary teacher because they become such a part of your life. At Marquette, we meet all of the Indiana state standards. We are able to hit them in very different ways. So one thing that we really focus on is our practical life and our sensorial areas of the classroom, where we focus on building skills like confidence, concentration, coordination, independence, and order. Those are very important things that we try to instill in children from the very first time they're shown anything in our classroom. It is not uncommon to see a 3-year-old in our classroom going in a non-COVID time and getting an actual glass, and filling it with a pitcher of water and taking it back to a place and drinking and making their own snack and learning those things, learning how to zip zippers, and as an upper elementary student, learning how to address envelopes and actually have a purpose and send out letters. Those practical life skills are very important to what we do. We also focus on the whole child. So in every area, we try to integrate everything together. So when we're learning about geography, we're also reading books. Like in one upper elementary classroom right now, they're reading Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech, because it shows one person and their trip through the United States. And so they're able to put both of those things, the reading component, the writing component, and the geography component together into one lesson. When we're doing math, if a child is learning about averages, they might, instead of just going to a textbook and finding numbers that are arbitrarily on a page, they might be looking at all of the averages of the Midwestern states population. And so they're going to find those numbers in geography books or in different places, and then they'll be finding the average of actual numbers and really trying to integrate all of those skills together. It's something that makes Marquette very different and unique. There are a couple of other things that we do at Marquette that I think make us stand out a little bit also. We are one of the early schools that is RJE, and a lot of our teachers have been trained in restorative justice in education. We use classroom circles and help the kids to understand how to talk problems out with each other. We also have classroom gardens, and so all of our early childhood classrooms have a door right outside where they are able to go outside and explain and explore outside. We plant things at different seasons, and we see how those things grow, and we do different experiments. And we even have a lot of classroom pets at our building, and so we research what those classroom pets need, and we grow some of the food that we need to give to our guinea pigs or to our turtles or our lizards. We also have a Dogwood Room at Marquette that is designed as a place where students can independently choose to go and just work on getting themselves back to a time where they're ready to engage in education. It's just a reset place where children can choose to go and calm themselves back down. There's different activities that they can do to reset themselves so that they're ready to engage back in their education. We have currently one therapy dog that's at Marquette, Izzy, and we're getting ready this week to get a new dog. And so we're very excited to have some therapy dogs that are great ways for the children to just engage in bringing themselves back to a place where they're ready to be in the classroom through the use of therapy dogs. We also have some other programs that we've done in the past. We have a robotics program that took off last year. Sadly, we weren't able to finish it, but it was exciting to see the students exploring robotics. We have a lot of other things that make Marquette really special, and I'm going to pass it back over to
I think before I go into talking about some of those other special things, I think there was a question about whether or not we're taking enrollments currently. That kind of depends on the age level. Some of our program levels are full, so the best thing that you can do is to contact the school office and get in touch with either myself or Mrs. Meeks, and we can work from there. And if there is room at the particular age level of your child, then we can make space available for that child in our school this coming school year. So some of the other things, Mrs. Meeks mentioned the therapy dog. Yes, we are very excited about our new therapy dog that's coming to Marquette soon. It's going to be arriving in South Bend tomorrow. So excited. We also work really hard to build partnerships with community organizations, and so a couple different ways that we've done that are exciting adventures that we're embarking on. The Junior League of South Bend has been very generous with Marquette, and last year we were able to get a kiln installed right before the COVID shutdown. So it's active and ready to be up and going this year. So our art teacher is making plans for trying to get our clay program off the ground with the fine arts facilitator from the district. So that's going to be another unique feature of our building going forward and long term because of the support from the Junior League. We also do a number of academic intervention work with Notre Dame, and for a long-standing relationship with them. And one of the professors out there has been helping our school significantly work on math fluency and has designed programs for us to use to increase the students' math fluency skills that also align with our Montessori pedagogy. And that's something that we work really hard to do, that when we are entering into community partnerships or entering into interventions that we're choosing or other strategies that we're implementing or things like that, that we make sure that they align to Montessori pedagogy and the philosophy behind Montessori education. Because what we don't want to do is move away from that, because then it starts to water down what we're trying to provide as a service to the community and to the students of South Bend by having a Montessori program. One of our other great community partnerships is with our parent-teacher organization. We have a very strong PTO. When you become a member of the Marquette community, you can be invited to join their PTO Facebook group. And they do a number of things throughout the school year. This year with COVID, it's been a little bit different. But they are still continuing to support some of our biggest initiatives, which they run a food pantry for us. We support about 30 or 35 families every week with backpack programs and then additional resources around the holidays and through the summer as a part of our food pantry program. They have also, they support our communication folders and things like that that go home. They support a number of our reading initiatives, one of them being a program that we do annually, and we're trying to figure out a way to make it happen for COVID. We do a Drop Everything and Read Night, where community members across the district area come in and read to our children, and then we have a large book giveaway and different things like that. This year we've gotten support from the Public Education Foundation to do One Book, One School. And so we are looking forward to being a part of that. And our students are getting, it's been fun as some of our virtual only students have been coming in to do testing right now. They're being given their book because it's an opportunity to see them. And so they're being given this secret book that we're all going to be reading together come January. And it's an exciting piece for our school to look forward to. And Marquette has, for probably the last almost 30 years now, prior to being a Montessori program, and then we continued it as a Montessori program. We've been a part of the St. Jude Mathathon, and that's been a very successful, larger than us kind of service-oriented project that we do with our school. As a school, we have raised more than $15,000 for St. Jude in our history. We also have available to parents through Mrs. Meeks' office what we call a parent lending library, because we know that Montessori education is different than what most families they themselves experienced. Most folks are not like me. I grew up in Montessori school, so it's all I've ever known, it's all I've ever taught, it's all I've ever led, and that's a unique experience. But most folks came through a conventional school model. So when you enter your child into a Montessori classroom, there's a level of parent education that needs to happen. And what we have found that as a blessing of COVID is that for our early childhood programs specifically, we've been able to do parent education in much more intensive and differentiated ways. Our early childhood teachers specifically have taken on the lion's share of that role, just in how they present online content to their students and to show families how they can make a lot of the same adaptations that we make to help students become independent and self-confident learners, that families can take on some of those same things in their home environment, and how to structure their home environment in ways that align with the school environment, because that ultimately helps students become more successful in school. One of the questions that we get asked often through the magnet application process is, what does acceptance into your program look like? And so for our program, it is first and foremost about space being available. So we have the highest number of seats available every year in our 3-year-old program. And children need to be age 3 or age 4 by August 1st of 2021 to be able to enroll at Marquette. So I know that means that there are some families out there right now with just 2-year-olds making this decision, and it is a big decision. but we hope that you would put that trust in us to take the risk and make the application, because entering at that 3-year-old year is the most critical year. Those 2 preschool years provide students with an academic background that sets them up for success for all of their future. Preschool education is one of the most critical periods of time in a child's life for their development of academic readiness and independence and self-confidence as a learner. It's a key point of their time. For the kindergarten program, students need to be 5 by October 1st. And so sometimes that ends up happening that if you might have your child participate in the 3-year-old program because they were, say, born on August, if they were born on July 31st, they might participate in that 3-year-old program. And so then they end up only doing 1 year of preschool with us because that cutoff changes for kindergarten to October. So there is some leeway in how they get coded in our program at that early childhood time about whether or not they do 1 year or 2 years of preschool. But the goal is for a child to enroll and do 2 years in the preschool program and then another year as a kindergartner in that same early childhood classroom. So like I said, it's based on space available. The 3-year-old program, we generally have the highest number of seats available because it is our entry year. And then for 4-year-olds through 6th grade, it's based on seats available based on matriculation of students that have moved forward and how many open seats there are. To determine how we accept students when there's more applicants than seats, we do allow for sibling preference. And then we do look at student demographics to make sure that our building is in compliance with the South Bend District's consent decree as well. And I think the other question that we get asked a lot is whether or not a student is a good fit for a Montessori program. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Meeks to answer some of those things that make a student a good fit in the program.
I'm going to talk about what makes you a good fit for a Montessori program, but we did have one question also that was on the Facebook feed. What makes Montessori different from a conventional education? There are a couple key points that I think set Montessori apart from a conventional education. One is you do have that looping of the 3 years, and it's not just 3 years, it's 3 age levels in one classroom. That is a huge difference between a conventional 4th grade classroom. The other thing is there's a huge part of independence that is built into what we're doing. So in a classroom, you will see the teacher working with small groups of students, moving through a curriculum that is very specific to that child. And the rest of the students are spending time doing independent work that maybe is something that they're interested in or something that they have learned from their teacher that they're practicing. I know in Montessori, we really do work to follow the interests of the child and each child. I know one year when I was teaching, I had a student who was just interested in sharks, and he didn't want to learn anything if he wasn't learning about sharks. And so we got books and we did projects and we learned all about sharks, and he became a voracious reader because of his interest in sharks and the way that we were able to craft lessons around that. I had another year that I had a student who was very interested in Indiana basketball. He wouldn't learn anything if it wasn't about Indiana basketball. And so that's what we did. We learned about averaging and mascots. We researched mascots, and we did all sorts of math and reading and writing based on basketball. And that is something that is very different about Montessori that sets us apart. In order to be successful in a Montessori classroom, there are a couple of things that you need to be, that will help a child be more successful. One, they need to be self-starters. They're kids who are eager learners are going to have more success as they are in the upper levels or coming to Montessori after they've maybe been in a conventional setting for a couple of years. They need to be students who are driven by routine and have high expectations for themselves. Kids who are used to sitting and getting things from the teacher and not being able to explore on their own are going to have a little bit more of a struggle being successful in our program. Our teachers are great at working with each child and getting them where they need to be, but it might be a little bit more of a struggle for them. We also find that children who are able to make choices are more successful in our program. There's a lot of the time where the teacher is not upfront giving instruction to each child. And so they have to be able to make some of those important decisions and to start work independently. And we really thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to call the school, or I'm sure that our contact information is in the feed on the side. Thank you for watching.